This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Hey everybody, it's Chris DeMakes, a podcast producer, Chris Fafalius here. And just recently, the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas announced that from here on out, July 31st will be known as Tony Sly Day, paying tribute to his enduring influence on the punk rock community. And they invited fans, musicians, and supporters from around the world to join in honoring his memory. Obviously, we're big Tony fans here at Chris DeMakes a Podcast, as I know many of you are. And back on August 1st of 2022, we released an episode of Chris DeMakes a Podcast in which we discussed the legacy of Tony Sly, and in specific, we got into all aspects of the No Use for a Name song, International You Day. It seemed only appropriate that we'd re-release this episode today for Throwback Thursday to join the celebration of Tony's life. So here you go. Enjoy.
Hey everybody. Today and for the whole month of August, we are reflecting on artists who are no longer with us. We asked you, the listeners, via our Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook page, what artists and songs you would like us to discuss. And Tony Sly was pretty unanimous. Tony was, of course, from the Sunnyvale, California punk rock band No Use for a Name. And together with my co-host and producer of this show, Chris Fafalius, we take a deep dive into their fan-favorite single, International You Day, taken from their 2002 album, Hard Rock Bottom. This band was a huge part of the early 90s punk rock movement, along with all of their Fat Records alumni. And we hope you like this episode as much as we did breaking it down. Enjoy.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast.
Yeah, it wasn't surprising at all to me that this was one of the first artists that people requested, especially in our world of punk rock. You know, Tony Sly and No Use for a Name were very beloved, and rightfully so. And then we put it up to a poll in there of which song to do. You know, I would have thought maybe Soulmate, and people overwhelmingly voted for International You Day, and I understand why. This is just such a relatable song, and I'm really happy to be talking about this one today.
Absolutely. You know, and this band, you have history and Punchline with them. You actually did a full tour with them, and I'm sad to say that Less Than Jake never did. We did a festival or two appearance with them over in Europe. I remember hanging out with Matt Riddle that day. He came on our bus, and we hung out and had some drinks, and he's always a good time, and what a bass player. I mean, in his history coming from Face to Face, which, you know, that whole sound, I feel like he created a whole genre of lead bass.
Yeah, for sure.
just absolutely incredible. And this band's got a lot of history. You know, they were formed in 1986, and pretty much the two constant members were, of course, Tony and Rory Koff on drums, who is just an absolute shredder. Rory is just so good. They released a record, their first one in 1990 called Incognito on New Red Archives, which was later re-released by Fat Records. And their last record was 2008's Feel Good Record of the Year. In all, 8 full-length albums.
Yeah, I think that I could speak for a lot of people who are around my age. in that Soulmate, the song Soulmate, is what opened the door to No Use for a Name for me when I was first getting into punk rock.
Monday morning you woke up crying, the outcome of a stupid line, oh, said by some punk ass on the street. It wasn't me, it wasn't you, it wasn't...
I had a false memory that Soulmate was on that very first Fat Records comp, Fat Music for Fat People. It was not. It was actually a different song that was on there. But Soulmate was on so many, I know my friends and I loved video comps, like VHS video comps.
Oh, yeah.
Soulmate was always on those video comps, and the video was of this girl who was a snowboarder. I remember that, and I think it kind of loosely went along with the lyrics of the song, but that kind of opened the door to me. I remember buying that album Leche Con Carne at the record store. I loved that album. And then, they were just one of those staple bands, Fat Records bands. They were just part of the world of music that you loved. And then, a decade later or so, maybe a little bit more than that, like you said, Chris, I got to tour with No Use for a Name. I looked it up on Tour Archives. I Googled it. It was in February and March of 2006. The other bands on the tour were I Am the Avalanche and Versus the World. And we started in like Cleveland, Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis. But then this was the first time we ever did like a extended Canadian tour. We did Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, all these places, and made our way down through, the Pacific Northwest and into California. And on that tour, Chris, it was my first ever, 2006, it makes complete sense, my first ever YouTube that I posted. It was this real grainy video taken on like a digital camera and you could still look it up. If you type Chris Punchline No Use for a Name, they would let me come up and play bass. Matt Riddle would let me play bass on Soulmate. And then, he would stand there and still do the backup vocals and give me the horns while I'm playing bass. And it was so cool they let me do that.
That is awesome. I remember you sharing that video with me. And why don't you post it in the Facebook group? That'd be great. And for everybody out there that's not part of our Facebook group, I know some people don't want to be on social media. I always say, just create a fake account. Put a fake name, put a picture of a flower as your avatar, whatever, and come join our group. We'd love to have you. It's so interactive and it's great. But Chris will post the video of that in there. I'm glad you mentioned the Canadian thing because Fat Records is just huge. They've always been huge in Canada. Lagwagon, No Effects, No Use always did very well up there. And you had to see the power of that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was the coldest time of the year too. It was February and March in like Winnipeg. and yet people came out to the show. People were going crazy.
I know. The first time an agent put us up there for a cross-Canadian tour, Vancouver all the way over to Montreal, it was in January. I'm like, why are we going up there? Who's going to come out? And they're like, oh, these people are cooped up. They will come out. So it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and Chris, Fat Wreck was such a big part. I was right at the right age. I was just becoming a teenager, getting into punk rock. And there was just this whole team of bands on this record label. And you'd get these free or almost free compilation CDs, either at the mall or at a show or something, and your whole mind, your ears would be exposed to this whole world of cool bands that had a common thread of fast beats and cool songwriting and relatable lyrics. And, once again, No Use for a Name were right in the heart of that. Straightforward songs that hit you right in the heart,
Sure, yeah. It's always been a lyric thing with these guys. And the people that talk about this band, they always mention the lyrics and what you just said, how it hits them in the heart. I don't recall actually when I first heard No Use. I do remember seeing Soulmate on 120 Minutes. I doubt that was the first. Yeah, I doubt that was the first time that I heard the band. But that track Soulmate was from 1995's Leche Con Carne, which you had mentioned a bit ago. But I think that was my first introduction to the band. So Matt Riddle, he came on board on 1997's Making Friends, and Chris Shiflett also made his debut on that record. Chris also played on 1999's More Betterness before joining the Foo Fighters and being replaced by Dave Nassy, who's a ripper, for 2002's Hard Rock Bottom, which features the song International U-Day that we're gonna talk about here in a bit. The lineup for that record was, of course, Tony, Dave Nassy, Matt on the bass, and Rory Koff on the drums. Tony's last No Use for a Name show took place in Montebello, Quebec on Friday, June 15th, 2012, and his final show of his career, took place in Gainesville, Florida, of all places, with Joey Cape. They were on a solo acoustic tour together at the High Dive on Sunday, July 29th, the final song being a cover of NoFX's Linoleum, played by both Tony and Joey. And Tony, unfortunately, passed away 2 days later on July 31st, which was 10 years ago yesterday.
I didn't know that it was going to work out that way when we were deciding what episodes to do. And I was like, wow, the day after, the day this comes out will be the day after the 10-year anniversary of his passing. I was like, wow. That was just happenstance that we did that. It wasn't planned, but wow, I can't believe it's been 10 years. I remember that like it was 6 months ago.
I know, and it was a crushing blow to the punk rock community. Tony's wife, Bridget, and their children, I've seen them at a couple Warped Tours. I remember talking to her not too long after Tony passed, and there's just no words to say to a family. Again, it was a crushing blow to the punk rock community. I don't know if you know this, Chris, and this is just so impressive. And it just shows you how prolific of a writer Tony was. Aside from No Use for a Name, he had a bunch of solo records that he put out that were very well received and well liked. But did you know that he wrote every word and every note on these No Use records?
I was looking to see I figured he wrote this song, International U-Day, that we're going to talk about, but I just wanted to make sure, before we did an episode and like, oh no, that was another guy in the band. But I did notice on this album, it was all Tony Sly songs. I didn't know it was every No Use for a Song ever.
It's incredible. That is just remarkable. And that's not to say that the other guys, and they've had quite a few members over the years, that they couldn't come to the table and write stuff, but he was the guy. It was his band. It was his voice, his words, his emotion that fueled No Use for a Name. And that to me is just, I don't write everything myself in my band. I know you don't either. It's a collaboration. And to see that, and when you do see it, there's some kind of genius going on there.
Yeah, it's very impressive. By the way, I just said No Use for a Song. He writes every No Use for a Song. Anyway, yeah, man, it's impressive. And I'll tell you one thing, too, that I noticed is I did watch some YouTubes of him playing this song that we're going to talk about acoustically.
Nothing that I've tried is as simple as this line, but without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely great. And so I
also saw something else that I thought was interesting that should really speak to the songwriter that he is. Everything, it was always fast punk rock, at least mid-tempo punk rock with No Use for a Name. It was always presented that way. I saw a cover on YouTube of this song, International U-Day, by a guy named Thomas Oliver. I don't know who he is, not familiar with him, but the cover on YouTube had like 300,000 plays.
From the start that I'm closer than you think when we're apart. Nothing that I've tried is as simple as this line. Without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely great.
And it's amazing, and I think it really speaks to how good this song and Tony's songs in general are, that if you didn't like punk rock and you took them out of the style of punk rock and put them into, I don't care if it's pop, I don't care if it's like indie rock or whatever, put it in that style, that the songs are still amazing and beautiful,
You know, Chris, I'm really glad that you brought that up because I was going to make mention, Bad Religion is guilty of this. They write these songs that are breakneck speed, but if you listen to just the vocal, some of these songs are ballads. And I'm going to argue that International U Day is a ballad. You're going to be like, what? Strip away those guitars. Just listen to how slow and where the melody sits. Less Than Jake has a song called Escape from the A-Bomb House. I've always said it's a ballad. Just listen to the vocal. It's very slow where that vocal is in that song.
Strung out my way out. It's after all the endless nights. The who's been wrong and who's been right. We just never saw eye to eye.
And I think that's why some of these faster punk rock bands were able to garner such a large audience, because there's a lot of people that didn't want to listen to really brash punk rock, maybe back in the 80s, Circle Jerks, DRI, different things that were super fast and the melodies were screaming at you and barking. This was singing at you, and it was coming from a different place. And again, you strip away the big guitars and the drums, as you said, that cover is a perfect example of what we're talking about.
I've heard also people call bands like No Use for a Name, yes, we call them punk rock. I've heard them described even as melodic hardcore.
Yeah.
I know you've probably heard that terminology before too. It's just, that is what it is, man. It's this combination, especially when you're younger and you have a lot of angst and aggression. You still want that part of it. You want to be able to mosh to it. You want to be able to let out your emotions to it. But at the same time, it's those hooks. It's those melodies that really reel you in. And I'm the perfect example of that, man. Those like punk rock bands. I mean, there's exceptions if something's catchy, but like, that's not what I liked. I came from a kid who liked pop music, who liked Huey Lewis and the News as a kid, and got into punk rock, and it was just kind of the same kind of melodies and subject matter put to fast drums and energetic fun live shows and stuff.
Sure.
It totally makes sense.
I had mentioned Bad Religion. Perfect example is a song called You off of No Control. Just listen to that melody. There's a place where everyone can be happy.
It's the most beautiful place in the whole fucking world. It's made of candy canes and planes and bright red choo-choo trains and the meanest little boys, most innocent little girls. And I wish that I could.
Where that sits right there. That lyric, if you take away the drums, the fast drums, these were very singable and easy, easier to digest than some of the thrash and punk rock that was coming out in the 80s. And man, No Use did it great.
I mean, it makes sense why there are certain people from the world of punk rock who then go on to produce and write for pop artists. Tim Armstrong is a good example.
Yeah.
He went on to produce and write for lots of pop artists. I'm sure there's lots of examples of that. And it makes sense because when it comes down to it, Chris, I can't completely speak for all of your musical taste, but I think you're kind of on the same page as me that when it comes down to it, man, we like pop music.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're drawn to. We're not, I'm not like listening to the Sex Pistols in my free time. I like pop music,
But man, that run that Epitaph and Fat Records had in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And of course we've talked about it a million times on this show, the explosion of punk rock in 1994 with MTV and The Offspring and Green Day, that whole thing that happened. Of course, Rancid with Out Come the Wolves in 99, but No Use was right there. Strung Out, No Effects, Pennywise. They were just part of the fabric of that whole scene. Want to jump into the track right now if we can, Chris. It's 2 minutes and 52 seconds. The intro has a little bit of guitar feedback and some cool hi-hat work. Really cool hi-hat work, actually.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Again, Rory Koff, the drummer, is just a shredder. And that's for 4 bars. And then a 2-note guitar jangle panned left and an octave guitar panned off right come in for 4 bars. And then a killer halftime groove. Bass, drums, those octave guitars and stereo guitars come in for 8 bars before an abrupt stop happens.
I'm sorry that it I gave up. See, 1,000,000 words can't describe how it feels to know your love.
I'm sorry that it took so long to write this song, but I gave up. You see, 1,000,000 words can't describe how it feels to know your love. And man, when we were talking about doing these episodes of artists that are no longer with us, it's this moment right now that I wish he was here to go, what is this about? And I can only surmise that this feels like a love song, and maybe it was dedicated to his wife.
I can only take away what I'm reading and hearing here, but to me it sounds like a regretful love song. It sounds like whatever went wrong in this relationship, Tony is blaming himself for it and not vice versa. There's a lot of songs where it sounds like accusatory. It sounds like this is a self-reflecting, like in one way or another, I messed up. And that's what I take away from this first verse here.
And on the first 3 lines, that 2-note guitar is panned off to the left, and there's like this backward cymbal, and then the 2-note guitar octave is off to the right. And the last 2 lines here, you see 1,000,000 words can't describe how it feels to know your love. There's this big tom buildup with the stereo guitars and bass into a snare roll and a pick slide panned off right that now gets you into the pre-chorus number 1. So that was the verse here. And yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of longing for something, for somebody, and kind of accepting blame.
A couple things that I wanted to note about this is, number one, in this song, and I know we're touching on this a lot, but the song is powerful and upbeat, but at the same time, there's a sadness to the chords, and even the octaves in this song, there's a sadness to it. What's the explanation musically for that sadness? Is just the chord choices?
Yeah, there's a lot, the sad chords are the minor chords, and it goes to that F sharp minor in this song at some point. I believe it's an F sharp minor.
It's okay.
I think that's what chord it was, but there's definitely minors in here. Yes, those octave guitars, as you mentioned, are very haunting. And Tony's delivery here, he was, and I don't say this in a bad light at all, he was kind of sang monotone. There was definitely melody going on, but there wasn't these huge jumps between highs and lows, and that adds to the somberness of this track of his vocal delivery.
This song also, I think, in a way, at least in this part, how it goes down so low for this first verse, it kind of fits in that world of Quiet Loud. That thing that was so popular. I mean, it's always going to be popular, but especially at that time. How many times are we going to talk about Nirvana and the Pixies and what was going on there? I think this fits in that world. Maybe instead of Quiet Loud, this might be Quiet Loud and Fast. That might be the way to put it.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying don't believe in someone that you don't know.
Hey, everybody, don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits, to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with a personal price plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. From improving emergency response times to protecting against cyber attacks, local, state, and federal governments are innovating with Google AI. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
This episode is brought to you by eBay. We all have that piece. The one that's so you've basically become known for it. And if you don't yet, fashionistas, you'll find it on eBay. That Miu Miu red leather bomber, the Custo Barcelona cowboy top, or that Patagonia fleece in the 2017 colorway. All these finds are all on eBay, along with millions of more main character pieces backed by authenticity guarantee. eBay is the place for pre-loved and vintage fashion. eBay, things people love.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hey everybody, I'm sure you've heard us mention the Chris DeMakes a Podcast supporting cast many times on here, but I'm going to mention it again. Going to ChrisDeMakes.com and signing up for our supporting cast not only allows us to continue making this podcast, but you'll also get bonus episodes of the After Party each week. When you sign up at ChrisDeMakes.com, you'll instantly get access to our entire back catalog, which includes the episode titled Worst Songs Ever, in which Chris and I go through a list of songs we found on the internet, which are supposedly the worst songs ever, although we don't necessarily agree. Here's a clip from that episode. It to you, Chris. Yeah, we laugh because it's a song about thongs. But have you listened to this song recently?
I have not. No, I of course I know this song. I don't. You'd have to be living in a bunker 500 feet below the Earth's core to not have heard this song. But no, I have not listened to it recently. What's up?
The string arrangement in this song is insane and awesome. Like, the production of this song is amazing. And yeah, it's funny. It's about thongs. Whatever. You got to pay attention to the music in this song. The strings in this song, which are performed by violinist Bruce Dukov, are inspired by a strings cover of Eleanor Rigby, and it is absolutely insane. I think this song is kind of a masterpiece, honestly.
Well, I'll have to go back and listen to it. I will tell you off the top of my head, this wouldn't have been one that even probably made my top 100 worst songs, just due to the fact that, you know, especially dance type of music, I hate being cliche here, but the term sex sells. And sex is always going to be a part of music and rock and roll. And talking about the thong and the booty and all that kind of stuff, it sells records. And a lot of times it can be really fun. This isn't something that I ever find myself driving down the road listening to, but I would not consider this a worse song.
Dude, and it's so funny, too, because Cisco, who famously has usually like white or silver hair, claims that the first time he saw a thong, it turned his hair white, kind of like what happened to Charlton Heston in the Ten Commandments, which is really funny. If you'd like to hear this whole episode, plus a giant back catalog of episodes, plus a new episode each week, plus allow us to continue making Chris DeMakes a Podcast, head on over to ChrisDeMakes.com and join our supporting cast. Thanks, everybody. And now, back to the show.
And of course, this was produced by Ryan Green, who was kind of the house engineer producer for Fat Records. Ryan started out producing Punk and Drublic, of course, by NoFX. Right. And from there, he did a ton of Fat Records projects. And by this time, 2002, he was firing on all cylinders. This track sounds great still.
Yep, sure does.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Well, we get into pre-chorus 1 immediately after verse 1, and I'm going to read these lyrics. We'll talk about them a little bit. I wrote here that here comes the Fat Wreck beat. It's that and it's just tearing your head off. But again, peel that fastness and that quickness away, and the melody's still sitting there. I'm referring to it as kind of a ballad, and I think again that goes to the what you were talking about a moment ago of tugging at your heartstrings, how it hits you.
Where did I go wrong? I should have told you from the start that I'm closer than you think when we're apart. Nothing that I've tried is as simple as this line.
The lyric here is, where did I go wrong? I should have told you from the start that I'm closer than you think when we're apart. Nothing that I've tried is as simple as this line.
I mean, when I read those and I was thinking about it, to me, I interpret that, knowing that Tony Sly wrote this, I interpret it as the distance that tends to happen when you're away on tour, which it can cause, I'm sure you know as well as I do, Chris, it can cause in certain circumstances, bickering, strained situations, frustration, and maybe a lot of the nice things you might say might get pushed to the side for frustrated things or fights or, arguments and things like that. That's what I took away from this pre-chorus.
Sure, and you wonder what he was saying there exactly on the last line. Nothing that I've tried is as simple as this line. Did he give away the line that he said in this pre-chorus or somewhere in the song, or was it a line of BS that he had fed somebody, or what is he speaking of there?
I interpreted that as simple as this line, meaning this next line that's coming up in the chorus. Without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely great. That's what I took away from that, is as this line that I'm about to sing.
I didn't even think that. That's a great angle, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that could absolutely be it.
That seems obvious to me. Once again, people can disagree with us. That's what's interesting about these episodes that we're doing, is we kind of gotta guess or make our own theories about these things.
Yeah, and again, I'll keep hammering this point. Join our Facebook group, because we'll be having a discussion about this this week in detail, I'm sure. And I'd love to get everybody's opinions out there. Everybody's opinion is as valid as ours as far as Chris and I are concerned. So we would love to hear from you. This pre-chorus, again, that Fat Wreck beat, it's just kicking your butt. There's drums, bass, the stereo guitars, and that octave is panned off left now, and it is loud, that octave, and it's just hitting so hard. The last line, nothing that I've tried is as simple as this line. It goes halftime there, and it's so heavy. Rory, the way that he constructs that it's not just halftime do-do-da, it's just the way that it's played. It's so heavy.
That is a perfect transition.
Absolutely. At exactly the 1 minute mark, we're at chorus 1. First line, without you, is Tony by himself, which I think is great, because we've talked about this on the show before. It's kind of personal. Without you, he's addressing that himself. And then all the back lines until every single day, the last thing he says here, all these other lines have harmonies. It's the first harmonies you hear in the song, and they're great. I'm going to read these lyrics now. Without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely gray. And so I try to let your heart know for sure that I have so much more to tell you every single day. And again, on every single day, that last line, that's Tony alone. What do you take from these lyrics, Chris?
First thing I want to say here, Chris, is that without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely gray. That line, that melody, to me, that is the song.
Yes.
That is what makes this song so special. That's why everyone voted for us to do this song. Regardless of the verse lyrics and everything else, there's not a person out there who can't, in one way or another, relate to that line. And, we all have one person that we have felt that way about, do feel that way about, and this chorus feels so sincere and powerful. And once again, the chords and the melody have a real melancholy feel to them. And Chris, how much harder does this hit now? I can't imagine being someone who is close to Tony and being able to listen to the song without just becoming overcome with emotion. Like, I feel that way. I only knew the guy from one tour, and it gives me chills thinking about that, how someone could feel what he's singing here about him, about having so much more to say, to tell him every day, and how their life is incomplete and days are absolutely gray. I mean, how hard does this hit 10 years after his passing?
Yeah, and I think that you're absolutely correct. This lyric here, these two lines completely encapsulate what this song's about. Without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely gray. And man, something I haven't thought about. Let me rewind the clock about 12 years, 13 years. I had this beautiful home out in Tampa at the time, right on a lake, and had gone through a breakup. I remember sitting on my porch, and it'd be early morning. I'd just be sitting out there alone, my dog and I'd be looking at the birds flying over the lake. There might be an alligator sitting out there. Nice little breeze is coming by. The most beautiful blue sky you could ever want. And my day was gray because I was hurting so bad. That sky was black to me. And I have not thought about that until you mentioned this line and how we've all felt like that. And boom, it took me straight back to that time period. And again, we've talked about it on the show. It's funny how music can do that to you.
Isn't it crazy how, like, the most beautiful day, you almost want the weather to match or like you want what's going on in the world to match how you're feeling. And it isn't, there's just a haze over you when you're going through something. And, Chris, not to downplay, I mean, we've both had our share of, be it breakup, divorce, whatever. We've both been through those kind of things, but what an extra level grieving is. That line, that chorus speaks to whatever you want it to. Tony kind of obviously is writing about a relationship in this song, but that could be related to a breakup. That could be related to the grieving process, anything. It really goes above and beyond what maybe the original intent was of the song.
Yeah, for sure. And after chorus 1, we go into an 8-bar reintro. Again, just so heavy. It's that halftime groove that we hear at the top of the song. 8-bar reintro with stereo guitars and an octave guitar doing the 2-note part of the intro. So it's that those small guitars that you hear, the 2-note guitar off to the left and the octave in the intro, they're now big and just makes this part sound absolutely huge. I love this reintro. Verse 2 happens immediately after this 8-bar reintro. I swear I'm giving up my inside to the one that I adore. I know this world is big enough for you and I, but I'll give you more. So it's almost like here where you almost feel like he's still in the relationship, like it's not gone yet.
Yeah, this was one part. I had a lot of questions about this. The I know this world is big enough for you and I line is one that I'm really not sure about, because I thought my interpretation anyway of this song was about physical distance from each other. But that line, I know this world is big enough for you and I, that line made me feel like it was the opposite, that maybe him and his significant other felt cramped by each other, which can happen when you live together or you're too up in each other's business, if you're codependent, that the world feels small, like you feel like you can't, I'm just suffocated, That line makes me think that someone said something like, "You're suffocating me," to him, but he knows that the world is big enough for him and that person. I was a little unclear about what this lyric meant. This would be very interesting to hear what it was, you know?
Right. And we've talked about this. If you ever wonder why certain songs hit certain people, certain genres, it's because music is all subjective. You take away different things. You and I sat here just now on verse 2, and we're maybe thinking different things of what it could mean. And I'm sure when we hear from people in the Facebook group this week, they're going to give us their take on it and what they take away from it. And it might move some people, it might not. Maybe they never went through something like this in particular, and maybe they don't feel that emotion, but you and I have, and we feel a certain thing from it. Verse 2 goes immediately into pre-chorus 2.
I'm coming home today.
I love when a lyric is different than the first time.
Yeah.
Not all the time. Sometimes you need to hear that hook, but I think you needed the information here in pre-chorus 2. This octave guitar panned off left here is, again, super loud, but man, it adds to that melancholy sadness that you're talking about. I'm going to use a crazy adjective to describe this. It feels like the octave guitars are crying.
Right. I mean, and I totally agree with you that we needed more of the story here. I'm glad we're not hearing the same lyrics again here. And Chris, there's a slight lyric change later in the song that I think is one of the best parts of the song. We'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I agree that, you know, in these lyrics here, which, okay, you're going to read the lyrics. We'll talk about them.
Sure, yeah, we'll get into pre-chorus 2 right now. And again, got a lyric change here. I'm coming home today to wipe the teardrops from your eyes. I'm totally enamored by your life. Nothing that I've done has ever been for one. On that last line again, like pre-chorus 1, the drum groove goes halftime there. There's no harmonies here, no vocal harmonies. You got them in verse 2, but there's none here. They're being saved for the next chorus. But what are you thinking about these lyrics, Chris?
Now I once again, whereas those last lyrics, I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't about physical distance from each other. Now it's right back to, now I think it is about distance, because he says, I'm coming home today. And I know, Chris, that I related to that, or what I put that to in my mind is I thought about all those tours where we'd be away for a month or two or the whole summer or whatever, and it's getting to be that last couple days of tour, and I couldn't wait to get home and go see my girlfriend, whoever it was at the time that I was with. And you just couldn't, like, so antsy and so like anxious to get home. That's what that reminded me of. And that to wipe the teardrops from your eyes, that makes me think of, like, you know, all the strains that being away from each other caused. Come home and be like, okay, everything's okay, we're back together. That's what I took away from it anyway.
Well, something else that's interesting, Chris, is there's no bridge in this song.
Oh, yeah.
There's no real departure, you know, and this song's almost 3 minutes long. 2 minutes and 52 seconds doesn't feel like that. We've talked about that a bunch on this show where, you know, it's like, how can this song almost be 3 minutes, but it just goes by so quickly, probably because the song's so fast and it's just kind of just moves along. But, you know, your longer parts in this song without vocals are your intro, which is pretty long, and then the re-intro after chorus 1. But yeah, there's no bridge in this track or departure. After pre-chorus 2, we go into a double chorus at the end, the first half being the same lyric and then the second half changing.
Without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely great. So I try, let your love go, so that I have so much more to tell you every single day. My life is incomplete. My thoughts are absolutely wrong. So wake me up before you leave today. Something I need to say, 'cause there'll be nothing when you're gone.
Without you, my life is incomplete. My days are absolutely gray. You get harmonies on everything here except that first line. Tony addresses the song by himself in that first line. Without you, there's no harmonies. And so I try to let your heart know for sure that I have so much more to tell you every single day. And then the back half here goes to halftime, the whole band. And again, can't state it enough. The groove is incredible here. My life is incomplete. My rights are absolutely wrong.
That's the one.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
So wake me up before you leave today. Something I need to say, 'cause there will be nothing when you're gone.
Dude, that my rights are absolutely wrong. That's what I was referring to a couple minutes ago. That hits hard, because to me, what I took away from that is when we're having problems in a relationship, being able to say that you're wrong is sometimes really hard. Him putting it in song here, putting it on the record, quite literally, I made a note of, putting it on record seems really important. And, and if Tony were alive and on the show, I'd love to hear what he has to say about that line. I would assume that by the time you write a song and you record it and you maybe the person who it's about hears it, by that time, whatever issue you were having at the moment is probably either resolved or you're not together anymore. But that person hearing that line, the "my rights are absolutely wrong" line, to me, I think that would hit hard. That, to me, is just such a powerful line.
Yeah, and I think the hardest part for me of doing these episodes when the artist isn't here is not being able to ask some of those questions. Like, I'm wondering about the harmonies. I always wonder about that. Why'd you put the harmonies here? Why didn't you have a harmony on "Without You," that first line, because it hits me that there's no harmony there. It makes it feel personal, as well as the last line on the first half of the chorus here, "Every single day." That's Tony alone. The last line here is also Tony alone, the very last line of the song, "'Cause there will be nothing when you're gone." And there's no harmonies there. On the line "gone," that's just Tony alone with a single clean guitar strummed, panned off left. It's just like really simple, but so tastefully done.
These lines where there aren't harmonies, I think you're hitting it on the head by saying that Tony and, bandmates, producer, whatever, wanted that to be personal, wanted it to sound sincere and coming straight from his mouth, almost like it's spoken. And that makes sense. I mean, for all we know, it could just be like, oh, we put harmonies here because it sounded cool. That could be the case too, like that happens sometimes too. It's just like, oh, I don't know why I did that. But to me, it seems well thought out, maybe in retrospect, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we talked to Joey Cape, talked about May 16th, Ryan Green produced that. And same thing, like, why were the harmonies here? And he's like, I don't know, I just kind of where they happen to be. And maybe that's the case here with this song. We'll never know, but it really always intrigues me. It's like, why do you put things a certain way? And again, I can't state enough, as I've told you and the listeners a million times, of how much I've learned in the last 2 years. It's incredible. I'm learning every time I do an episode of, you know what? We got a really personal lyric in this chorus. Maybe I stay off a line or two here. Maybe I make it a little more personal and then have the harmonies elsewhere. I've never thought in that context before, Chris, until I started breaking these songs down.
And maybe some of these moments that feel really personal, maybe people don't even realize they're doing it. Maybe it's subconscious that they're doing this and, oh yeah, that'd be cool because then it sounds like it's coming straight from me. I don't know. Once again, we can only speculate on these things. Chris, lyrically, one more thing that I thought was interesting or something to think about anyway. The very end of the song, "So wake me up before you leave today, something I need to say, 'cause there'll be nothing when you're gone." I thought that was interesting because the whole time I'm thinking Tony is the one who's away on tour. But this line made me think that his partner here was also traveling. And I don't know. It's funny. I looked this up, Chris. I didn't know how much No Use was touring around this time. And I looked it up on the same site where I was looking up, like, when did Punchline do that tour with No Use? And they were on the Warped Tour in 2002. So it was probably in support of this album. But as far as I could find, they didn't really tour in 2001, around the time that I would assume that Tony was writing this song. It seemed like their tour dates before that were from the year 2000. It seemed like he was home for a year. So that kind of spun me for a loop in over-analyzing the song and trying to figure out why and how. And it made me think that maybe I was off on thinking that this was about physical distance while on tour. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, sure. And at the same time, these last couple lines here, I don't know, was he referring to someone that passed away that was no longer here? You know, there'll be nothing when you're gone. That could kind of mean like they haven't left yet, but maybe they already are. And in songwriting, a lot of times you'll write from a first person or third person point of view, but you have to really think about it. Again, it could mean anything to anybody. That's why it's so fascinating to me, song lyrics in particular, how they hit one person to another.
This song feels really personal. I would bet my life on the fact that this is personal experience. This doesn't seem like something you would write being like, okay, I'm going to try to write a song that people could relate to about like getting your heart broken. There's too many specific things in this song that make this, like, there's no way this isn't from the heart, personal, from Tony's experience.
Sure, I would probably agree with that. But again, to the listeners out there, we want to hear from you. Please check out the Facebook group and we'll get that discussion going. I'd love to hear what everybody else's thoughts are, because again, we all take away our own thing.
Nothing is the same. Everything is a better change. Sometimes I see silence in your eyes. Let it all.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. We got more Chris DeMakes a Podcast after a few words from our sponsors.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's. Right now, get a 4-piece GE kitchen suite for under $2,000. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt Max XR 8-amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt tool. Save big with deals that work as hard as you do. Shop Pro Savings Days in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 8/1. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem-solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and lick pad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. We're talking chew toys at your door without really waiting fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, and peg hammer fast and fast. And there's training TREATS faster than you can say sit fast. And now we can all relax and order these matching hoodies to get cozy and cute fast. Fast free delivery. It's on Prime.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
It's the Smucker's Uncrustables podcast with your host, Uncrustables. Okay, today's guest is rough around the edges. Please welcome Crust.
Thanks for having me.
Today's topic, he's round with soft, pillowy bread.
Hey.
Filled with delicious PB&J.
Are you talking about yourself?
And you can take him anywhere.
Why'd you invite?
And we are out of time.
Are you really cutting me off?
Uncrustables are the best part of the sandwich. Sorry, Crust.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumighttnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Fire Sale, a punk rock band featuring No Use for a Name alumni Matt Riddle on bass. You can find their music on all the streaming platforms, and here's a snippet of their song, Dark Hearts. Chris, we talked about this. Usually at this point, at the end of the show, we go into the wrap, and it's kind of hard to do a wrap because we've been sitting here talking for the last 45 minutes.
We've been rapping.
we've been rapping a little bit here, but I'm going to kind of try to do a little recap myself here. If you're unfamiliar with No Use for a Name, go back and check out songs such as Justified Black Eye, For Fiona, The Answer Is Still No, and of course this track, International You Day, plus a ton of other great tracks. This band was super important and part of the fabric of early 90s punk rock and beyond. I am still saddened to this day that Tony's no longer with us, and I'm really envious that you got to spend some time with him, Chris, and play some shows. And to all the bandmates that have ever been part of No Use, just want to say hello to all of them, especially Matt Riddle. Miss you, Matt. If you're listening, hope we can connect sometime soon.
Chris, I can only speak from personal experience, and my personal experience is this was an influential band, a band I loved when I was first getting into punk rock. They were a band that helped shape my musical taste and everything. And then years later, in my experience in doing that tour with them, I could say that, the whole band, awesome people. Tony Sly, super nice guy. He was a quiet, reserved, friendly guy who literally let me come on stage and play a song on bass with him. I mean, I can't I can't say how cool that is. I will share that video. It's so grainy. It's like 5 DPI. It's like a terrible video. It was back before we had fancy video cameras on our phones. It was 2006 and I had a shitty digital camera. But I can say nothing but nice things about that guy, about this band, and yeah, man, super influential, super important.
Absolutely. And for the listeners out there, if you haven't already, please join our supporting cast at ChrisDeMakes.com. You can check it out over there. And for the price of a cup of coffee, you can get bonus episodes each week of the After Party with Chris and I. And we talk about a little bit of everything. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just keep talking about No Use for a Name this week. I don't know. We haven't decided what we're going to do for the After Party for this episode yet. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. We really appreciate everyone who's a part of that. And it gives us an excuse to keep making more and more podcasts, Chris. What more could we ask for?
So once again, go over to ChrisDeMakes.com and sign up for the supporting cast. We'd love to have you be a part. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Instagram at @LessThanChrisD. And this episode is dedicated to the one and only Tony Sly. May he rest in peace. We'll see you next week.